People know it as the bridge in the middle of the roundabout, the bridge to nowhere. Thousands of people drive past this every day in the city centre and don't know it's here. But people have been crossing the River Don here for centuries. In fact, this crossing may be over 2,000 years old. And today, we're exploring one of Sheffield's strangest survivors. We're in a little green corner of Sheffield city centre here, and it's something that you never knew existed. How many thousands of people a day drive past where we're stood and what we're going to show you in this video and don't know it's there.
The bridge on the roundabout.
So this is Calvin, Hidden Sheffield Walks.
If it's hidden in Sheffield, I'm on it.
Right, there we go. Calvin is going to show us around this, what we're here to see today, this little bridge. This is Bridge Houses.
Obviously in recent years, it's become one of these wilding sites that the council are keen on, which you see quite a lot of these days. Didn't used to be like this, it used to just be mowed grass. Yeah. So it's great. This time of year, it has an extra value as a much needed green space in the middle of a really busy road interchange, you know.
Right, lead on.
So it's the bridge that don't go anywhere, and I think that adds to its appeal, really. The original Friends group, one of the aims of it was to reinstate it as a crossing, as a footbridge, and it was an original plan, aspiration to open that up again. But I think it's got complicated here because you've got a new bridge to that side, and obviously it keeps changing around here. I respected that, and we have put it on record. We have asked the council to open it and reinstate it as a crossing. I suspect that's going to be a little way off because of the complication of what happens at the other side.
Yeah, straight onto the main road, isn't it?
And part of me has the appeal of that you can come onto the bridge, but you can't leave the other side, but you can fully access it now. And what we've got here is a really old crossing, a really old river crossing in Sheffield. So we've got Ladies Bridge just downstream. It's the next bridge along, apart from this road bridge here. And that's been a crossing for about 800 years. And this is not as old as that, but very old. There's been a crossing here for centuries. There was a wooden bridge here in the 1720s. And then the first iron bridge in Sheffield was built here. This bridge, the precursor of this bridge in 1795. So this is only about 20 years after the iron bridge at Iron Bridge in Shropshire. This was right at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Of the places didn't have iron bridges. If you had an iron bridge in 1795, you were an important place. And this crossing of the Don was the area's first iron bridge. It was then destroyed by the Great Flood in 1864. But it was rebuilt. It was rebuilt in 1865. It was probably most of the current structure was from that. And there's some renovations from 1921 because the tops of the bridge have 1921 date on these things further down. And that was the last bit of work that was done to it. It's a bit of a mishmatch. There are stone pillars underneath, which I think may date from the pre-1864 structure. Yeah. And then there's the top bit, which is 1921. There's probably at least 3 different layers of ages of the bridge. And underneath, when the weather's been dry and the sun's shining, and it's a perfect week to be out here doing this, you can see the ford that runs underneath. That may well have predated the first wooden bridge 300 years ago.
There's an angle, isn't there, to get the sun?
There's an angle.
It's hard to see.
Just sticking out a few feet on each side of the bridge is what looks like a road surface, where the
see the cobbles.
Where the ford crossed, and this is a really old crossing because it's a natural shallow bid. There's probably a word for that. It's deeper on each side. So there's a little bend here, and it's a natural shallow part of the river. It's much deeper just over there, and it's much deeper just over there. It is possible that this is where the Romans crossed the Don. They did somewhere around here. And it's possible that this is an ancient crossing. This is best part of 2,000 years old, where people have crossed this stream.
In 1864, disaster struck when Sheffield suffered one of the deadliest floods in British history.
That bridge there, Borough Bridge, the road bridge, is built in the 1850s. And then in the 1864 flood, that survives, being a far bigger and stronger structure, and this doesn't. Now at that point, they decided whether to rebuild the footbridge, because you've got this brand new bridge over there, which has the advantage of being strong and can survive a disaster. And you've got this little footbridge alongside it. And they didn't do it immediately, and it was the best part of 18 months before they rebuilt it. But they put it out to tender, and they did rebuild this footbridge. So even though that's there, they still wanted this. You wonder quite what the separate purpose of this bridge was. Because this used to carry horses and cart, and there didn't used to be a crossing between Ladies Bridge and quite a bit further upstream. But even when they built that bridge, they rebuilt this bridge. And I do like that, because that was an excuse at that point to let it go.
Do you think they were thinking of heritage at that point?
You'd like to think that they would make a point of rebuilding things that were destroyed by the flood. And they did rebuild a lot of the structures that we lost. And people may well remember, because certainly in the 1970s there were shops and buildings along there. There was a road called Bridge Houses which went across the roundabout. It was far more enclosed than it is now. And it's such recent history, because this whole area's changed with Derek Dooley Way and before my time in Sheffield. And in Victorian times there was a pub just on the corner of the Bridge Inn. And now the area's interesting because there's brand new flats going up all around the place. Just in the last few years, there's several of these buildings here weren't here. Certainly those there. I mean, Bridge Houses has a whole new population. But the interesting thing, no one lives in Bridge Houses anymore. No, I don't think Bridge Houses is anyone's address. No. This is still called Bridge Houses Roundabout, but Bridge Houses, the houses by the bridge, was a little hamlet.
I mean, obviously we had the station Bridge Houses. That was a big thing, and when that disappeared.
Yeah, it was the first terminus of the railway to Manchester, just behind us. In the 1840s, and Bridge Houses Station opened, suddenly there's a whole new reason for having access to that.
And this bridge, I remember all the development round here, because I used to live on that side of town, out Crooks Way, and I used to have to travel to work in Attercliffe. So I used to travel through this every day when they were upgrading all the ring roads. And of course we had a flood in 2007 as well. And let's not forget this, a lot of this was affected by that big flood. So I remember how different all this used to look. I remember that bridge. That was pretty much the only way over by road. And then obviously as the ring roads developed and this has become a roundabout, it's kind of cut off this bridge. It's kind of made it even more of out of the way corner of Sheffield. There's a sign here on the wall, unfortunately it being graffitied.
So there was quite a lot of, it's just from the original Friends group, and there was quite a lot of signage on the site that's gradually got damaged over the years. And unfortunately last year in October, I think, we had a bit of a disaster here. We had a flood. The water mains underneath us burst, and not only did water destroy the signage that was here, also the vehicles had to go on and do the repairs, so the place got very churned up, and it became a bit of a mud bath, and we lost the physical things that we had. Some good news, Yorkshire Water and their contractors have given us some money, and we have replaced the sign, the main sign, telling you about the history of the site and welcoming people to the site, which did used to be over there, probably a bit close to the water outlet there, so I think we'll move it a little further away in case something happens again in the future. Because the idea being you should be able to come to here and read about it and why it's important and why it matters, and you will be able to do that again this summer.
Today the bridge survives thanks largely to local volunteers who refused to let this piece of Sheffield history disappear. And you've got quite a personal connection to this little spot of Sheffield, this little corner of Sheffield out the way, Calvin. So how did you get involved with this?
This site used to be completely derelict. It was closed off, overgrown. Not in the way it is now, where we've got a bit of nature reserve thing going on here, which is great, but it was overgrown, it was locked, and there are two heavy-duty gates on the bridge itself. It wasn't available for anybody. It wasn't available for anybody to come and visit, and there was a group of people locally who cleared it, opened the gates, made it accessible again, and put some signs up here, put some information, and made it somewhere that people could come and see and appreciate. the original Friends group, they didn't get any permission to do that. It was a bit of an activity. They've done it themselves. They've reclaimed a piece of Sheffield.
Yeah, and this was the Friends of...
This is the Friends of Bridge Houses Footbridge.
Yeah.
And within a few months, they got the Lord Mayor to come and officially open the site.
Yeah.
And this was just something that people did. This was activism. This was people just saying, right, that needs doing. They went out and did it. And they wrote to the council and told them they'd done it, and they got the Lord Mayor to come here on an official engagement in all his regalia to cut the ribbon and everything. I suspect if they'd have asked the council to come and turn this into a heritage site, they'd probably still be tangled up in red tape now. So it's a great lesson, and one that I've carried with me ever since, that it's easy to get permission for something once you've done it, and and once you've done a good thing. You know, you've done a good thing. You haven't damaged anything, broken anything. You've opened a site which was previously inaccessible. And my involvement is, there was someone I knew, John Errington, who became a friend. I got to know him through this originally, but then we knew each other through some other projects. And he died a few years ago. I know it sounds weird, but on his deathbed, he literally gave me the logins for everything I needed, and asked me to carry on the...
So you're like a custodian of this, of the history.
I feel it's the only thing I've ever been left.
So the Friends of Bridge Houses Footbridge, so that's a Facebook group, isn't it, Calvin?
Yeah. We do litter picks and gardening sessions, and we're going to have something coming up soon, because when the new sign goes up, we'll have a day. We'll have get people down here. Yeah, we'll have a tidy up as well. We'll attract a bit of attention. It's one of those things that if people are on the site, other people drop in to see what's happening as well.
You've been a busy boy, Calvin, on a weekend. You've hidden Sheffield walks. You've been doing some tours around Sheffield city centre recently.
Yeah, we've done every Sunday since the 12th of April. Which has been good. Met loads of new people on it, and it's a 2-hour tour of the city centre, the hidden city centre explore. I'm trying to promote the city centre. I mean, much as I like the outskirts of Sheffield, a lot of Sheffield's most interesting and beautiful places are around its edges and around its rivers and woodland. But a lot of people rubbish the city centre, and people will tell you there's no nice, they all got destroyed in the war, or the council all pulled them down in the 60s, and it's really not true. There are loads and loads of 200-plus-year-old buildings in the city centre, and a short walk will find you plenty of them. You go to other similar-sized cities and think, God, they do better with their city centre than we do, and there's some truth to that. But the problem is for our city centre is not that it's not there; it's that we haven't showed it off, and we haven't made the most of it.
Not celebrated.
We've got the things that are there. We don't do really simple things. We don't put plaques and information boards, because people now see an interesting building and there's nothing to tell them what it is. I think that would go a long way just to help. And that is going to be all summer as well. On a Sunday morning as well. If you're going to walk around Sheffield city centre, Sunday morning is a really good time to do so. You can go through those back streets. You can stand in the middle of the road in quite a few places and look at buildings that the rest of the week you couldn't dream of doing.
So where can people find out about your tours?
So it's all on Hidden Sheffield Walks Facebook page, and so that's my main online place to be. But really pleased that we're being listed now by the council site, Welcome to Sheffield, and another site, Our Favourite Places, which I'm enjoying as well. People know it as the bridge in the middle of the roundabout, and it's on the local heritage list now, one of the three, along with our conduit up at that we've been up at Lodgemore. So I've got 3 Sheffield structures on the local heritage list.
What's the third?
The third one is Bramall Lane Bridge, which is under Decathlon car park. That's been covered up as well by development around it. As the surface level have gone up and the buildings, this bridge got lost and is now still there, but just not visible from any side. Whereas this one is the opposite. Whereas this is very much hidden in open sight. I suppose the question of this is, what is it, rather than where is it? And the fact that this crossing is certainly a structural crossing is 300 years old. The ford will be at least another century or two before that, and it might just be that people were crossing at this spot on their way. Roman soldiers on their way up to York might have been crossing the Don at this spot. So this is an old place indeed.
From Roman travellers and medieval merchants to railway passengers and goods heading for Bridge Houses station, generations crossed the River Don at this spot. Today, most people pass it without even noticing it's there. And thanks to Calvin, informative and engaging as always. We look forward to seeing him in future videos, and don't forget to give him a follow on Facebook. And thanks to my own subscribers, channel members and supporters, and anyone who's helped the channel over the years. And thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Ta-ra.